Hey, friend.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Welcome back.
We're back.
We are back like we never left, though we took August off.
Period.
And how are you feeling?
Rejuvenated, refreshed, great sleep. With the whoop, there it is. We'll get to that in just a moment. But I'm feeling good. What about you?
I'm feeling really excited to be here. Really good. The end of summer is a time of kind of sadness and excitement for me.
Why sadness?
I just think the end of summer, I feel a lot of going back to school stress.
I see. Yeah,
But
for
even
sure.
I'm like, I really want my kids to go back to school. They need to go back to school. This is ridiculous. And I also feel sad that I want them to go back to school. And I feel sad that the summer's over.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I still, to this day, obviously I've not been in school in a very long time, enjoy summer the most. It is my favorite season. There's something about it. We talked about this in a previous episode. Summertime Fine. Y'all go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it. Just that it makes me want to adventure.
There's like there's an openness about summer.
Yeah.
Why can't we be open like that in other? But that's such a good point, right? There is this feeling of wonder with summer.
Absolutely. And
do you think it's like that in like places like Arizona where it's too hot to go anywhere?
See, you're Northerners often say it's too hot for things. That actually is not a concept everywhere.
But in other parts of the country, kids go back to school in July. That's the middle of our summer.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. When we talk about taking this sense of wonder into other seasons, I think I'm preparing for that because I've fallen in love with a YouTuber who lives in a tiny island off the coast of the North Pole. It's called Svalbard. And I just watch her content and I just love it. It's like polar bears swimming by.
Tashira, you hate the cold.
I'm mentally preparing myself, Margo.
So you watch it to prepare yourself for the cold.
Because she's enjoying, if she can enjoy living 5 minutes from the North Pole, then I can enjoy like 60-degree weather. So I'm learning.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I think.
That's so random. You really do that?
I enjoy her channel, her content. It's just a slower pace of life, but also I hibernate when it gets cold outside, right?
It doesn't even get that cold in DC.
Listen, I'm telling you how my constitution is set up from my core.
Same.
If it's below 60, I feel like it's God-forsaken weather. Why people are outside?
So yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're on the same page about that. But I want to have this sense of wonder.
Me too.
So let's just keep it up, friend. Let's keep up. Let's take our brat summer into our brat fall.
Okay, so what is brat summer?
I don't know.
What is brat?
What that means.
So here's what I'll say about brat. Your outfit is not brat, but it's more brat than my outfit. But my outfit is green and yellow like brat.
But why my outfit not brat?
Because isn't brat green?
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but what I find interesting is that Kamala Harris figured it out before we did.
So good for her. Here's what I'm saying. Like strategic hiring comes in all different forms. And she's done it.
Period. Can we just pause for a second?
Coconuts and brats. That is going to win an election.
I understand neither of those things, which is why I understand that she hit it out of the park.
But if you don't understand it as someone who is an expert on parasocial relationships and the internet, how can someone...
No. I don't understand it because I'm not the target audience.
Right,
so that's why she's
I
actually succeeded, in my opinion.
Oh.
Because she's gone viral with a particular demographic that I'm not in. So she has been able to niche down into a particular audience that she needs to She's been able to activate a niche base.
She's niched down and moved to the middle.
Simultaneously.
No, she has.
Okay. We'll
talk
get
about
there.
We're going to talk about all things Kamala because Kamala obviously was a big part of everyone's summer in some ways, though not the determining factor.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in more political content, head over to our YouTube channel because we have talked about.
Yeah, so that is the one thing that we did this summer. So while we were not in studio, we did have some episodes where we were virtual and we were talking about all things, even a YouTube Live. So
we did a YouTube Live, and I'm not saying that we called Joe Biden stepping down, but
we might have been. If you ask me, I think historically, as kids read about this moment, our names might be in history books.
It's like this random duo on a very niche podcast about middle age, which they called big age, called an election before the candidate even ran in an unprecedented step down of power.
An unprecedented turn of events. It actually was two podcasters, Margo Lindauer and Tashira Halyard.
But I just want to say, while I don't think we actually called it, I would like to give us some kudos here.
Okay, talk
because I'm working on that, and it's important because we received a lot of hate.
We did.
And it was, I would say, a little scary. Not scary in terms of like our bodily safety, but
yeah.
I think it felt, at least for me, it felt scary. Like
no one wants to be drugged on the internet.
No, about something as like I didn't want in any way to be associated with Trump's rise.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And people, immediately, that was their feedback, right? They completely misconstrued what we were saying.
Correct. And that's actually the opposite of
what we were saying. And what we were saying is what happened. And now folks are very excited about where we are. I'll say this. People are talking about the election in a way that they were not before.
And issues. And while it's painful, and it can be painful, we have to be able to have these conversations.
And I think that's why I'm proud of us, because we said the thing that we knew would ruffle feathers. And sometimes in our search to just be content and to go along with the get along, we do ourselves and our audience a disservice. Sometimes you just got to say the fucking thing. And people are not going to agree. Oh, well.
Right. And no one has to agree with us.
You don't got to agree with us. You don't have to. And actually, I think I want to be made uncomfortable sometimes as far as my social political analysis is concerned.
Me too.
I need to question my values, my morals, all of those things.
And it's hard. So. In some ways, it's easier mentally and politically when you're just up against a tyrant.
Yeah.
Right? To be able to criticize.
Yes.
But when there's something to support and there's nuance there and there might not be complete agreement or gelling of how you fit in alignment with a political movement, it can feel destabilizing.
Yeah, and disorienting, I think. But that's the work.
That's work.
That's what democracy is, friends. And so we've had a brat summer, a brat democracy, a brat.
But let's just get past this. You've had a very busy summer.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to do a whole episode on how our resident THOT-ician got engaged, because we want to hear. I haven't even heard all of the details. I've heard snippets of the details, and I knew it was happening. You didn't.
I did not.
And we're going to talk about it, but I think you've had a good summer.
I've had a very good summer. And people would come up to me and they'd be like, congratulations. And at first it took me a minute to remember why they were congratulating me. Literally the first person that did it, I thought she was congratulating me on hitting 100K on Instagram. I was like, oh, thank you. And then it took a minute and I was like, oh, engagement, big moment. Absolutely. It takes a lot for me to sometimes just sit in the thing because my mind is always racing. And so you often remind me that I can just be excited about a moment at a time.
And being engaged is the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I know. I kind of don't want it to end.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I want to get married, but I'm also really just enjoying.
Not obviously. We can talk about that. But being engaged is the best.
It's like everyone around you is so happy. You're so happy. All of our conversations are about planning a future together.
And there's so much hope. And it's
sweet.
It's safe without being like jail.
What? Are you comparing marriage to jail?
I mean, some people feel that way.
What, bitch?
I'm not saying I do, but it's like there's something it's very personal to the two people without other, like, the government and stuff.
No, this is true. This is very true. Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to talk all about it on our next episode, on our next full-length episode.
Yep, we'll get into
which will be on the 16th, I believe.
And just as a teaser, we have to address the THOT-ician, the high priestess role, because I feel like y'all are doing me like I'm Joe Biden, trying to get me to step down. And
but there's a real valid question. How are you going to hold this mantle while only being intimate with one person? So I don't even, actually, we shouldn't assume.
Do you see what I'm saying? So stay tuned for the episode. Y'all don't know. You don't know what I'm negotiating. You don't know what I'm negotiating behind the scenes with my life partner, Margo, is all I'm saying.
I just feel like that's true, and I can make guesses, and my guess is it's not in the open category.
Okay, let me just make a note in my pleasure and bone broth.
Well, pleasure can come from monogamy.
And THOT-ician's Injustice Journal to come back to that point. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so tell us about your summer, but don't focus on the engagement because we're going to do a whole episode on that. What were some of your highlights?
The highlights of the summer for me is I got more active, and that felt really good. Like, I made a commitment to going on long walks and just really like exploring fitness in a different way. I really enjoyed the middle of the day because I've started to make a commitment to, like, I'm not an early morning person, you know this. And I always say, oh, I'm going to work out later. That never happens. And so I've had this kind of line of demarcation in my day where right about noon, I'll ride the Peloton, or me and Pooks will go for a walk, or I'll just get up and move my body in some way.
That's so impressive. I find the middle to be the hardest to motivate.
Really?
Yeah.
I like the break in my day.
No, it's really smart.
Yeah, I really do. Because I think part of creating a habit is obviously you have to get rid of all of the barriers. And the barrier for me is that I'm not a morning person and I procrastinate later in the afternoon, then I have to figure out what works for me. And so that's been nice to just be out. I've just been outdoors a lot, and I've enjoyed that. What else has been really good this summer? I spent a lot of time with family and with friends, went on a long vacation like you, which I'm sure we'll get into. You know what I did too, friend? I explored different types of terrains, like beaches that are different from what I've ever experienced before. So I went to Martha's Vineyard. I went to Cannon Beach in Oregon, about an hour outside of Portland, and fell in love.
And the 2-week vacation is so different, right? Than the 4 or 5 day vacation.
Yeah, I mean, I've started to not even consider those to be vacations anymore, which prior to my partner, that's all I knew. But she's going to introduce me to, like, nah, we're going to make vacation a verb. Like, we're going to do the thing for multiple days, take, like, when we went to Greece last year, we flew to different parts of the country, like actually being able to hop around in a way that you can't in 3 or 4 days or over a long weekend.
Especially when there's jet lag.
Exactly. And you're trying to, like, get your body back acclimated. And also by the time week 2 came around, that's when I really felt like I could decompress, you know, because at first you're still kind of revved up from your life, and then you're in a new place and you want to do other things. It's really for me week 2 where I'm like,
I'm the same way.
Okay, I can relax. What about you? What were your highlights?
So I had a really beautiful 2-week vacation as well. But this summer was lovely. And really fun, actually. It's kind of been the most fun I've had in a long time, I think. But it's also been a revisiting for me of my past in weird ways that were some were intentional and some were not, but I wasn't expecting it.
Okay.
Sadly, someone from my childhood passed away in the spring, and so there was I went to his funeral, and so there was like a coming together of people from my childhood that I did not anticipate, which kind of predated my 25th high school reunion.
Okay.
Which, for those who know me, high school was not a good time for me, but I had kind of this really interesting time at my high school reunion, which we can talk about. And there have been people who have popped up in my life from my past that I was not anticipating. And that has not been, it has not been either good or bad. It has just been like a full circle kind of experience, which I'm grateful for. And I mean, we are starting to get a lot of work.
We've been busy.
Busy,
We've been very
and
busy.
both in our personal businesses and on the podcast. So that's really, really exciting. I've committed to taking this 12-month-long certification for nutrition.
That's so exciting.
Which is so exciting. So I feel a lot of hope. And physically, and maybe we'll do a whole episode on this. I don't know. I'm feeling so much better.
No, we should. We should.
I'm feeling so much better, and I didn't realize how bad I felt.
Until you felt better. Yeah, because the default was, being tired.
Right. And I feel much better. I am sleeping so well. And I know I'm sleeping well. I have so much REM sleep. Like do you know what my name is on Whoop?
What is it? Remy Ma?
Oh, that's cute. Queen of Sleep.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now is the time to tell folks about today's episode.
So today's episode is sponsored by Whoop. Whoop is a Boston brand, guys.
Oh, I didn't know
Did you know that?
No.
So I've used Whoop for the last couple years on and on. So let me just say, I have been a Whoop user for a really long time. I got it for the first time a number of years ago and used it pretty diligently after I had my third baby because I was so tired and she wasn't sleeping well. So I had no idea how much I was sleeping.
Okay.
And then as you know, I've struggled with my sleep for a long time. Then I stopped using it. And then over the last year, I've started using it again because I was sleeping so much, but not feeling well. And so it was the first time in my life that I ever was sleeping consistently really well and not ever since I was a child, but I still felt like crap.
Okay.
So really using my data from my Whoop has been part of my wellness journey.
So how does it work? So it's tracking?
It tracks everything, but there's no interface. So it's not like an Apple Watch or a Garmin or anything like that. It's just a band. And then on the bottom is the heart rate monitor.
Ah, I see.
And you get the best data if you wear it consistently. I wear it pretty consistently, though I take it off for events and stuff.
Okay.
And the more data the Whoop gets, it calibrates to your body. So it does do calories and heart rate, but that's not the focus. It tracks sleep, strain, and recovery. And so it's in these cute circles.
Okay.
And so based on your activity and your weight and your body and your age, it gives you an estimation of ideal sleep.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's helpful.
And then so you get a bunch of data in the morning, right? So how did you sleep? Did you sleep your suggested number of hours? You can get 100% on sleep, but for example, today I had really bad recovery. I was in the red, which is not good. What does
recovery mean again?
Recovery is like how your body has recovered after a night of sleep.
Interesting.
So, for example, I worked out harder than I have in a really long time yesterday morning.
Okay.
And we had a drink yesterday. So for me, because I'm old, that is like a crazy day.
Okay.
And even though I slept well, my body isn't primed for exercise today. That's how I interpret the data.
I see.
So after we filmed today, instead of, I wasn't going to do this, but say I was going to go on a 5-mile run, I would be like, oh, my recovery wasn't that great and I want to go to an exercise class tomorrow. I'm going to go on a walk.
Well, this is so important for someone like me because I have not a lot of data or knowledge around physical activity and fitness, right? I am learning all of these things. So understanding how my body actually responds or doesn't, or how I should treat it.
Exactly.
Is so
and so,
important.
For example, there's a couple other things that I really like. I don't use all of the tools. It's an app, so you can have it on your phone or you can do it interface on the website too. And there are communities you can join within the app. I don't do that, except there's two things. One, there's a journal that you can fill out every morning about how active was your day? Did you drink? Did you take drugs? Did you drink enough water? Were you active? Were you stressed? And so if you do the journal a lot, it tracks that data. And so it can correlate like, oh, I'm noticing that when you don't drink enough water, you don't
Yeah.
sleep well or whatever. So that's one thing. I don't really do the journal that much because I'm pretty aware of what I put in my body and how I'm feeling. But I do share my data with two of my close friends.
Okay.
And we're on a Whoop team together.
All right. Well, maybe I will be part of the Whoop team.
Well, I didn't say you were invited.
Well, shit. Politics and Fashion Tribe, I guess we're going to start our own Whoop team.
No, of course you're invited. But
fuck you, I don't want to be in it now.
Okay, so going back to the summer, did you watch the Olympics?
I watched a good part of it.
Who's your favorite?
Sha'Carri.
Yeah, obviously.
Simone Biles.
Yeah, okay. Wait, is it Sha'Carri? Is that how you pronounce her name? I've been pronouncing it wrong.
What have you been saying? Sha'Carri?
I don't want to say.
It's Sha'Carri.
Sha'Carri.
Girl, shut the...
Wait, is that no? Wait, Tashira, really? Sha'Carri? What do Sha'Carri and I have in common?
Sha'Carri. Somebody's child is named that. I guarantee somebody's child's named Sha'Carri. She might name her child Sha'Carri. The blackest shit I've probably ever heard. It's Sha'Carri.
Okay.
Okay,
she and I have a lot in common.
You are the same height.
I don't know.
You are both runners.
That's generous of you, no.
Okay, you both like getting your nails done.
True, but that's not what I was going to say.
What is it?
She's a Whoop wearer.
She wears a Whoop.
She's sponsored by Whoop too.
Look at that. I didn't know that.
It's a new development.
So now you have your Whoop ambassador.
Yeah.
And Sha'Carri, who we all love.
I love her so much.
And now the Justice Tribe members can also receive...
So with our unique code, you can get a free month. So it's a monthly fee for all the data.
Okay.
And I think there are different packages. Like you can get a discount if you pay for a year, like all of the auto things.
Okay.
But it's great. I really like it. And also, if you don't want it to show, you can get different bands. You can wear them around your arm, or some people wear them, I think, on their
ankles. Oh, interesting.
If you're wearing pants or something.
I'm very impressed. Thank you for breaking all that down for us, friend.
Course.
We can't wait to hear more about Whoop.
And tell us what your experience is.
And also about your nutrition class, because I feel like you are enlightening all of us around health on the podcast, and we appreciate that.
Cheers.
So cheers. Note, Margo's drinking green juice, and I'm drinking water.
Out of a Fendi water bottle.
It's so on brand.
Okay, let's get into it. Okay. Do you feel different?
Do I feel different this summer? Okay, so a couple things. I feel different because I have truly been attempting, and pretty successfully, I think, to unplug and to have a more traditional work schedule and to combat the workaholism that we've talked about a lot on this podcast. Also, my anxiety has been under control.
I love that. I'd love to hear that.
My sciatica, I've not had any flare-ups with that. And also, I've not had any stomach issues either, which makes me think that I didn't realize that my IBS is also probably stress and anxiety related.
100%.
I always thought it was like food, like it was a food trigger, but actually,
Well, it could also be certain foods trigger if you're really stressed.
If I'm really stressed, exactly. So I have been leaning more into learning my body and what it needs, but also recognizing the role that my emotions play in that. And on top of that, dog, like I just want to like be booed up. I don't want to be like Kermit the Frog in front of the computer all day and all night. And I have a partner who is like emotionally aware enough to be like, I would like to spend some time with you. And I feel like by the time she says that to me, she's already been feeling it. And I don't want to get into a negative pattern or a habit of where she's waiting on me to spend time with her. Because when her work is over, for the most part, it's over. And mine can permeate throughout my entire day. And so, and for you, it's not just Josh, it's also the kids. And so people want to enjoy you.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. I don't think I'm doing as well as you in this regard.
What do you think could change?
So I'm really affirmatively trying for the fall to also put myself on a schedule and schedule. I think we talked about this a little bit over the summer, that I scheduled out all of August, and now I've scheduled out all of September.
Good.
And I'm blocking the afternoons in the sense that it's not that I'm not working, but I'm not taking calls in the afternoons.
Good for you.
After 3, because we have such like chaotic afternoons with 3 different pickups.
Yep.
And I'm the primary parent in terms of pickups.
The after school time.
And it was just getting, I would be like picking them up and on a call and scheduling a call. And it's like, no, my schedule is blocked 3 to 5.
And that's the thing, right? It's what's going to happen.
Right. I'll just either schedule it for 6. So I could maybe work 6 to 7 and we can have dinner at 7.
Yep.
Or we could have dinner, whatever. Or I just do all my calls during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I have work to do, then it's writing work or thinking work, and I can do it after they go to bed.
Exactly. And also making time for the thinking work, I think, is important too. Like, I've been getting up lately and just reading. Like I have to consume, I have to pour into myself. It can't always be output mode.
Yes.
Is the way I've been feeling lately.
Yes, I've been feeling that too. And I've also been feeling, and this goes back to the 2-week vacation, I had so many creative ideas for us, for my business, for kind of my life while I was away, which always happens, right? Because being out of your comfort zone makes you think about your home and your life. Like, oh, my life is different than this in this way, or I miss this, or I don't miss this, and I was like, oh, I do so much better creative thinking when I'm outside and moving.
Yeah. Any other aha moments about the summer? Maybe points of awareness, something you realized for the first time?
Yeah. So this is kind of sad.
What happened?
Well, it's not personally sad. It's just like globally sad.
Okay.
So we took a big trip to Europe. My husband's cousin got married, and then we spent like 9 days in Spain. And Spain is a really special place for me. I spent a year there in high school and taught there a couple years ago, and I have a lot of friends who still live there. Anyway, I speak Spanish. And it was a very formative moment in my life. And at the time that I went to Spain, it was the second time I'd ever been out of the country. When I was 16, it was the second time I'd ever been out of the country. I had been to Europe once, but never been to Spain. And everything was so different, right? And I had grown up in a fairly sheltered environment, so I had never been on a subway by myself. I had never walked in a city by myself. I had never ordered a coffee everything was new. And so in my mind, this place is so different, right? Because I had all of these new experiences. So now I'm bringing my kids back, which is really important and amazing that I can do that.
Yeah.
And they know how much I love it. But it doesn't seem that different. First of all, my kids are much more traveled than I ever was.
Yeah.
But global capitalism.
It's a thing, huh?
So it's like different.
So what do you mean? Like it was McDonald's everywhere?
Yeah, or Starbucks.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not called Grubhub or Uber Eats, but it's some version of that.
Yeah.
There were just a lot of aspects that I was like, oh, this is just global.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that feel unique to this place, but there's now just this thing about being in a developed country that is just
uniform, right? You expect to, like, what's the Wi-Fi signal when you get to the restaurant? You expect a certain level of access and comfort and ease. And while that can be positive, what I'm hearing you say is it also reduces like the cultural ethic of the place.
Newness. it was so fun. We had such a good time. It was amazing. I'm really, really still overwhelmed that I can travel with my girls.
Yeah.
And it's something that, like, they're on and off trains, holding their backpacks. Our flights canceled. They go with the flow. I mean, it was a lot of traveling because we were trying to hit a bunch of spots and see these old friends of mine who happened to be in Madrid for just 2 days. So we like rerouted our whole trip to see them.
Oh, so y'all were everywhere.
We were everywhere. And we were not in any place more than 2 nights.
So remember also, you have something to compare it to. For them, this is the only world that they know.
Right. It just feels like maybe I'm showing them a world where there's no new.
We should do a whole episode on that. It feels like an episode title. But I think that the new is just defined differently.
And also, even for people who don't travel, there was no internet when I went to Spain.
Yeah.
There were books, so I could read about restaurants, but I couldn't see photos of restaurants. I couldn't see photos of neighborhoods the same way.
I mean, you had to literally go to a restaurant to try it. You couldn't read the Yelp review, God forbid. You know what I mean? Can you remember that? You had to like literally be like,
you would get a list of restaurants.
It was a level of curiosity and anticipation.
And you could curate you could read about a museum, you could read about a neighborhood, you could read even about a restaurant, but you wouldn't see the menu. You know, it's now there's so much information.
It's so funny. First of all, we sound old as hell, like that damn internet. But I think it also reminds me of why it's so important for my fiance to still buy like the travel books.
Yeah, we bought them too.
And so she buys these books. Who
Folders
makes them?
Or
that's what I'm thinking about.
I don't know, like.
But let me tell you why this is important. This is going to be a little like moment, hopefully, for our audience. And so I'm just like, why are you buying these books? Everything that's in that book is on the internet. So we are on a bus. Those like we use the tour bus or the hop on, hop off bus
really
as
smart.
our transportation. And she overhears this group in front of us getting off or going to get off at a lake. And she says, oh, I remember reading about this lake. We get off the bus and we walk down this little rocky trail. It is the most breathtaking and beautiful lake I've ever seen. And she found out about it from a book. And so there are some parts of like how we experience the world that the internet and global capitalism is never going to be able to replace. Sometimes our adventure and our awareness has to come from doing the thing and being open to those slower moments.
And I think it gets to a concern I have about all of us in this new economy, or it's not so new, but in our economy where you want a 7-Up, you like can go on the internet and order it's not in your local grocery store, you can order it, right? And you want a slice of pizza, you want this, you want that. You have access to all these things at your fingertips. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's so good. So we're in Spain. My girls were amazing. And there was one day where they're like, we want pizza. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you're going to get pizza today. And they're like, well, mommy, just go on your phone and find the closest pizza shop. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. Just because you want something doesn't mean you just get it.
You got to have it. And everything you want ain't good for you. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. No, I mean, this is, I think there's something around the way that you parent that people are not, there's a mindfulness to it that I say that.
But my new passion emanated from my trip.
What is your new passion?
Olive oil.
Girl, good. But Margo, I told you that I will block you if you keep this shit up. Why are you passionate about olive oil?
First of all the centenarians from the blue zones eat a lot of olive oil. I am now taking olive oil.
Are you sure that that's, I mean, has the causal connection really been proven that it's olive oil?
It's not just olive oil, but like, if you're interested in what I do with my olive oil, hit me up once I have my nutrition business, okay? Because I'm not going to share anymore right now. I'm just saying I'm starting to collect olive oil. I'm using it. I used the truffle olive oil on pasta the other night. It was amazing.
Did you add salt and pepper?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And it's delicious and good for your gut and good for your skin.
Period. Okay, listen, I'm not
Good
saying that
olive
I
oil.
cannot be
Extra
convinced.
virgin, not just olive oil. Look for extra virgin.
Okay. If I come to Boston and you have an olive tree.
I wish. Tashira, why not olive oil? That's my question.
It is just the ease at which you say the most, and it just, to me, feels a little random, Margo. I walked into the bathroom in the hotel, bitch, and you were spraying stuff on your feet.
Magnesium spray.
Oh, this is what I'm saying. So, like, take yourself outside of yourself.
It's just so normal to me. You know how soft white,
which is so funny.
It's like soft white underbelly is normal to you.
It is. I just the trauma, the pain. I need it.
Or the Tiffany cuff.
Yes.
Or the Bottega earrings.
Absolutely.
Right. I didn't know any of those things till you educated me on them.
Very true.
I love fashion. But you love food.
But you don't even like those things. You just are like aware of them.
Right. But like you actually like olive oil. So that's why I don't understand why this is weird to you.
Because I don't know why we have to invest in olive oil. Can it just be like the thing, you do the thing? But no, you're like, when you like something, get
it's part of my
into it.
But it's like I want in this big age to have passions.
Okay. And you're saying it's olive oil.
Well, I'm just saying there's more than one. But you know how your partner is really into mezcal?
Yes. Oh, you're saying this is your mezcal. So you just had to bring liquor into it, and then I would understand, bitch. Like,
right?
Give me an analogy that lands.
THC strands.
Okay. And you're saying that there's some health benefits to this, and that's why you're really like.
And it's like everything I like, right? Where does good olive oil come from?
You love it.
Spain, Italy, Greece.
And you love Italian food.
I've never been to Greece, but I love Italy and I love Italian food. I love Spain. I love Spanish food. I love Greek food. We went to Greek food last night. Okay. Someday I'm going to go to Greece.
Yes.
And I'm going to get some Greek olive oil. And I'm going to compare my Spanish, my Italian, and my Greek, just like mezcal from different parts of Mexico.
Oh, this is good now. Okay.
So you will be taking shots of mezcal, and I'll be taking shots of olive oil.
Sampling olive oil.
So I'm going to blow your mind right now. People take shots of olive oil.
Girl, I do remember I went to Starbucks and they were like putting olive oil in drinks, and it was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard.
That was weird. That was Starbucks not doing what I'm going to do badly.
Okay. So I think for your nutrition business, will you do some olive oil consulting?
Well, Tashira, I have to learn more about it first.
But we're preparing. Sometimes you have to just say the thing and then you build the plane while you're flying.
So I do have an image in the little business that I'm creating. It's going to have like an office.
It's not a little business.
Yeah, it's like no, it's not global.
No, well, we can just say that it is a business. It doesn't have to be qualified. Yeah.
It's a business. It's a business.
That's the thing.
And there's going to be all, my tinctures that I take.
Yes.
So a lot of those tinctures, some sprays for the bottom of our feet, some of the cream I rub on my stomach.
It's an apothecary.
And some olive oil and some nutrition consulting.
No, that does sound dope. All right.
What else about the summer? I think we need to talk. I mean, the summer's not all roses and kittens. What were some kind of moments for you?
I had a moment of being very aware, and this is positive, but it does have a negative impact on many people, of my straight passing privilege. And I talked to you a little bit about it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of our straight audience might. I think they might need some. I know what it means.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before, and I know the experience you're talking about.
Yeah.
But can you elaborate? Like, what's straight passing?
Sure. Yeah. So straight privilege, straight passing privilege, or even femme privilege. I use these things interchangeably. But what I'm saying is people think that I am straight. I think that the default is if I was to walk into a room right now, people would assume that I had a husband or that I lived a very heteronormative life in a way that we all know and understand. And it's just obviously not true. And it's funny because I said to one of my queer friends recently that it feels like I am always coming out, especially having a public audience and a brand and all these things. It is so many assumptions made about my life and who my partner is. And I've had to go into YouTube and actually restrict certain words because I was starting to get the homophobia. And in my engagement video, there were so many comments that were made about, one, I didn't know you were queer, although I'm not hiding it. And number two, the comments that had been restricted that I just went into a YouTube hole one day and found, not intentionally. I was
Oh,
like,
because you restrict certain words?
exactly.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I had
Have you done that on our
to.
channel?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
But we can talk about it because I think for anybody who's creating content, it's healthy, especially if there are certain areas that you know, like if your kids are off limit and you're a vlogger, right? There are certain things that you can block from even ever showing up in your comments. And so instead of like YouTube deleting them, I guess I had them in
Like a folder.
a spam folder. And it was all of these comments that it had restricted about the video. Oh, I didn't know that I was watching a lesbian channel. I can't support this. I'm
What?
unsubscribed. Bye, bitch. I didn't ask for you to come over here. So those types of things
friend.
I've learned to move beyond. But I think what was more eye-opening for me is the shock that people still have. And I think it's just because the default in this country and in the West is heterosexuality. And so everyone is assumed to be so until you're not, unless there is a visible marker of your quote unquote difference, because then you're outside of the norm. So for my partner, she walks in a room as a more masculine presenting person. People assume that she's a lesbian. I don't get that. And what I realized this summer is, and I think I always knew it intuitively, but it was like literally right in front of my face during a panel discussion. I was like, I get invited to things and I go into rooms and I get brand campaigns and I've had jobs that I receive because people think I'm straight or because I'm straight passing. I don't make them uncomfortable by how I present, by my gender presentation. And it was just such a moment of awareness because I thought to myself, am I doing enough? Because if I don't recognize that about myself, how could I hold space for someone who looks differently than me? And I felt like I had been failing my entire community.
Okay, that's a little.
I know, but it's just, dog, like I just felt like.
Yeah, no. I mean, I also think and we talked about this a little bit last night, there's a level of hypervigilance that you experience constantly that, I mean, I think as a Black person in the United States, you experience it more than like a white person would. But then like adding other identities and then feeling scared for your bodily safety in certain environments.
Yeah. It's real, especially when you're certain places. So we were talking last night at dinner about if you were Black, if you are queer, if you were trans and non-binary presenting for sure, or you have that identity, there are certain parts of the country that you just don't go.
Right.
And you know that you will not be safe, especially if you are partnered and let's say if you have children. You know, could you imagine what that experience would be like in, I don't know, Omaha, Nebraska? I've never been, so I'm not saying anything negative about that place, but just thinking about there are parts of this country that are unsafe. And it's not just unsafe because of the words people will say or the way you will be treated. It's unsafe because your physical body as a Black trans woman walking down the street can literally bring you harm. And I think that's when I thought to myself, damn, I spend so much time thinking about the ways in which I am othered. Am I doing enough to hold space for people who have experiences that are even more precarious than mine? Because I don't fear my safety necessarily, right? I don't feel like, while I am vigilant, especially in my interactions with police, I don't feel like if I took a flight to some random place that I would get off the plane and be physically harmed just by way of being who I am.
Mm.
But there are people who fear, and with good reason, being harmed just because of who they are.
Yep.
My little brother who is trans won't buy clothes because he's scared to go to the store, to the men's section, because of how people will treat him.
Right.
I don't have that experience.
Right.
So it's like, is my advocacy doing enough? You know?
Well, only you can answer that, but I think I would say that it is, because you're always centering other voices and bringing the fight of not your own, only your own lived experiences to the conversation, right? And you would be the first to say that for you to do the work, you have to be well,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, I think you do more than anyone I know, but also it's so real. I mean, I don't have that experience. I don't have that experience. I
Yeah.
do have the experience of feeling unsafe at certain points, and I have the experience of being very vigilant about about one of my children in particular.
Absolutely.
And I would not go to certain places with her.
Yeah.
And I said that to someone recently, and it was about New Hampshire, actually, by the way. And I said I would never take her to that part of the state. No shade on New Hampshire. I love New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of guns, and a lot of, there's a lot of tension around, like, including trans children in sports and all of this other nonsense. And I had this conversation, and they were like, "You wouldn't take her?" And I was like, "No, I wouldn't take her."
And it is so real. And so I think what you're describing is like a moment of awareness.
Right, in a different way.
And it's like,
This is what
this is what the world is. This is what the world can be, because we all live in these little bubbles. And so I was literally taken out of my super progressive, kind of educated, liberal environment in Northern Virginia, a hop and a skip from DC. It's like this, it's like Cambridge in a lot of ways, right? DC has actually never had a Republican mayor. Ever. Ever. And the people who are more conservative are actually probably just moderate Democrats.
Right. Same, for the most part.
And so I was taken away from that environment and with people who I felt a protective spirit around, because I didn't know what could happen to us simply because of who they were, who I am, walking down the street in a particular place. And that was the part of the summer that I think I needed to have, because you're very kind. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying what I have done or what I do. But I also think that as it relates to opportunities that I receive, I feel much more compelled to like respectfully decline.
Totally.
Right.
And I think that's right. And that's the season, and that's the work too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That we've said this before, not everything is for everyone.
Not everything's for everyone. And sometimes I cannot show up and do the thing with you, brand, person, people, place, if I feel that I know that a trans or gender non-binary person cannot come to the table as well and be treated the same way.
Can I add something else into the chat that I don't know, and I'm not part of this world, so... But I also wonder if your adjacency to the fashion world makes some of this hard too.
Yeah.
Because like you have access and wear clothes that not everyone can wear, but fit a female-bodied a certain type of female-bodied person.
Yeah.
And so the other people who present similarly are often cis hetero women.
Yeah.
Of a certain,
for sure, like, yeah, and also
slender
size,
right? Like, so it's like
brings up so many issues,
right? Like, so there's like fat phobia or ableism,
100%,
homophobia, heteronormativity, like showing up in a particularly feminine way, like wearing the clothes or the thing or the da.
For sure. No, I think that I know that you are 100% correct, because as a woman, as a queer woman, if I was more male of center or more masculine presenting, there just actually are not fashion spaces that exist in the same way for me to participate in. So for you to
show up for your job, it's almost pushing you to present in a certain way that maybe is how you want to present, but maybe sometimes you don't want to present that way.
Yeah. But I also think, let's just be honest, pushes me also into circles around people with brands that aren't necessarily reflective of who I am and my lifestyle, just in general, right? I probably spend a lot more time in that space with straight, thin, fitting all of the beauty norms individuals than I do in my day-to-day real life because of what that industry privileges and what success looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a openly queer person, I just think it brings up a lot of issues that I had to confront this summer. And so I'm actually, like I said earlier, I'm happy that I actually had that moment. I needed it. I needed it. And who knows what it means for me day to day moving forward, but we have to all recognize our privilege.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. And that confrontation may not be pretty, it may not be nice, but we have to recognize it. And if we don't, we're probably fumbling the bag, to be honest. We're not using it and leveraging it in the way that it's intended to be used.
And we're not staying curious.
Amen.
Right? And so we might be speaking on things where we're not the people to speak on.
That's what I'm saying. So respectfully decline. I'm not the person for this opportunity. Please get so-and-so to come because they will do an amazing job. Mm-hmm. Also, why is so-and-so not at the table? Mm. So that's my work recently. What about you, friend? What were kind of the aha moments?
I mean, I think I've also had some interesting conversations with myself about my advocacy and what it looks like in this season, but we'll get to that another time.
Okay.
This was the first summer where I finally admitted to myself that, like, I really don't like being in a bathing suit around other people.
Why?
I don't know. So I need to I feel like I am not ashamed of my body. I've worked a lot to accept my body, particularly post surgeries. I feel like I'm healthy and happy and whole, but I don't feel comfortable.
Have you always felt that way and just not admitted it to yourself? Is
no,
that
I've
what you're
admitted
saying?
it to myself, but I've always been like, I love going to the beach. I love going to the pool. I love all this stuff. And then there were more than a couple opportunities for me to go swimming this summer, and I just didn't take them up. Like, I would take my kids to the pool, but not get in a bathing suit.
Mm. As a feminist, does that feel like contradictory for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of contradiction there. But also, I have to admit what I'm feeling.
100%. Yeah, no, that wasn't a shot at you.
No,
I'm
actually
working through it because I think people
I would never want someone else to feel that way.
That's what I'm saying. And people are probably listening thinking, well, I hate putting on a bathing suit too. And so I think what you're getting at is something much deeper, is that we should not feel that way.
No, we shouldn't. But just saying you shouldn't feel some way doesn't make you not feel that way.
100%.
So anyway, we can talk about that. But it feels a little superfluous after your...
The fact that I can emote that way so quickly is a little scary because now I'm fine.
It's like the chimpanzee documentary that you have to watch.
This is what I'm saying.
Where she's crying about Tonka, but Tonka's really in the basement. I'm not saying that you fake those tears. I'm just saying you're good at it. Okay.
Olive oil chimpanzees.
Dumb
bone broth.
Dumb shit.
Dumb shit.
You brought this to my attention. You need to give us context.
Girl, Cam Newton is an unmitigated, complete fucking fool. We're not gonna qualify it. That's just
player?
What it is. Former, because he also really couldn't get himself together on the field either, which is shameful because he was like a rising star.
Okay,
I don't want to hear this from me. My hot take on sports. You didn't come here for that, but he actually made it to the Super Bowl. Didn't win and just kind of never recovered.
Okay.
And I think fell into kind of a bad boy narrative.
Okay.
Just because the league doesn't really like black quarterbacks too much unless you're like a Russell Wilson and you kind of, you toe the line and you do the thing. But people like him and Mike Vick.
Because quarterbacks are... Why?
Well, I just think that
they're like Tom Brady.
Historically, quarterbacks have been the Tom Bradys of the world, especially the historic ones, right? Okay. And even like for kids, I grew up in Florida, a lot of youth sports. And so the black kids are taught to run fast and not to have the precision of a quarterback. Quarterbacks also are known of having like the high football IQ. And so that is almost quintessentially seen as a white role. The wide receiver, the running back, the lineman.
Tashira's like speaking a different language to me. I'm like,
fascinating. Yes.
I think football is so stupid, by the way, but like.
Another episode.
Our obsession with it.
Period, in America, right? And so he was one of the very few black quarterbacks, is what I'm saying.
And now he's retired.
And so he was very promising. Phil Super Bowl, didn't win, and never really recalibrated. And so the most probably prominent part of his career as of late has been his role as a podcaster.
Oh, really?
So he has a podcast, and he sits down recently. First of all, I see clips of this podcast coming down my timeline all the time, and I just keep swiping because it's just Cam being Cam. Like, he likes to pontificate and pretend like he has
about
all
what?
these. That is the question that I be asking too.
About
who
football?
is watching this? No, Margo, that would actually make sense. It'd just be about like the world and.
Okay.
So recently he has this black therapist, psychologist on her show, this woman who I think also has a social media presence in her own right. And they're chit-chatting, and he talks about how people would assume that he's not high functioning because of his situation. And she's like, what situation? What are you talking about? Dig into it. And he says, because I have 8 children from 3 different women. I want more kids. I do not want to get married. And it is because my fear of divorce is higher than my desire to get married. And he kind of just like leans back like he just like found antimatter. He's just antimatter. And so honestly, she calls him out on the many issues that are surrounded around that I would love for us to get into. But the reason why I found it interesting is not because of Cam. Again, I swiped past that. It was because someone made the connection that his 3rd baby mama is the one who went viral, I think last year or the year before, around her comments of submission and saying that she is submissive to him. Her name is Jasmine Brown. She says that every night she scratches his back in the same spot before it even itches because she knows that it will. Margo, why are you laughing? This is your problem. You're not stepping into your feminine. She says she scratches it in the same because she know that thing gonna itch. And she said she scratches his back and rubs him until he's sleeping. And she said the reason that she knows that he's asleep is because his breathing changes.
So she's treating him like a baby?
And this is also what we have to talk about.
Like, she should sleep train him. Like, he needs to learn his own self-soothing technique.
She said she cooks, she cleans, he's spoiled rotten. She's been known to love people back to life. She said that she packs his bags. She anticipates his every need. Now, we're going to write this. Okay. I want you to juxtapose that against this man saying that he is not going to marry her nor anyone, and he wants more children.
With her? Or just with anyone?
That was left open. He said God was going to bring them. He said, I think God is just going to bring them.
Why does he want more children?
So let's just have a conversation right now, because I think I don't want to toe like a conservative politic here. You don't have to be married to have children.
No.
You don't have to have a man to have children. You don't have to have a woman to have children. Their family dynamics look many different ways and are outside of a heteronormative nuclear context, and we can hold space for that. But there is something about this man saying he has 8 kids from 3 women and he never intends to get married or partner in a serious way, is how I interpreted it. That feels so reckless and wrong. Meanwhile, you have her saying that she submits to his every will. Margo, how is that possible?
That's like a sister wife thing.
So let's go back to our polyamory episode, because this would make perfect sense if they actually had an open relationship. To me, that's what it even sounds like they actually are in.
But you're saying she doesn't, like,
But she doesn't have that freedom because she is submissive. So to your point, it's like more like a sister wife thing, when it would make more sense to me if they were just non-committed in an open situation that may be polyamorous. Let's start to use different terms here.
And empower her. Yeah, that's weird.
All of it is atrocious. And
well, it's also like, to your point, it's not so much about being unmarried and having children, which is, there's no morality associated with it in my mind. It's more the intentional decision to not be available to all your children in a consistent way. So if you have children with multiple people, it just splits your time.
Because how could you?
You can't sleep in 3 different homes a night
at the same time?
You can't be at breakfast. Right? So what? You get Mondays with some kids and Wednesdays with other, which, I mean, I get it. But that's not ideal.
Absolutely not. And I'm just also thinking about, Margo, your house runs like a small country.
I know.
Like the amount of executive functioning it takes just to like parent one child.
And there was just one child today.
Imagine 8.
No, I can't. That's why I don't understand.
In different homes.
This is why I don't understand
people.
the trad wives and the. Do you follow this woman, Ballerina Farm? Have you heard of her?
I've heard of her. I think you told me about her, actually.
Well, I don't follow her, but now she's on my feed because I said her name once or something. And I read an article about her. And it's like, I just actually don't understand having 9 children.
Yeah.
It just seems so overwhelming, the amount of responsibility.
Can you imagine what you have to negotiate? Like, what do summers look like when you have 3 baby mamas? Like what kids are coming when? Do all of the women get along? How are you negotiating? And he does not strike me as someone who has the ability.
But he's not. I read that as he doesn't have any caretaking or real role.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the third baby mama told us that, right? Jasmine told us that she does everything.
Well, she didn't talk about the kids.
That's true. But I'm saying it's not hard to believe because of how she treats him.
So it seems more like the children are cute. He's like, ha, 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 cute, cute, cute. You go play. That's 1 second of a 24-hour day.
So can I tell you something? I want people to get off the internet. And I know that sounds, but it's like, just unplug for a second, because he's among this contingent of people like Nick Cannon with that head wrap. Which why is he wearing that fucking head wrap, Margo? Of like, the earth is flat, like the black man is God, you know. So there's all of this dis and misinformation that folks are downloading. And then you have a platform to just spew that back out. And so they're in an echo chamber. And that's where I think a lot of this like submission talk, trad wives conversations is coming from. And I read him as someone who is definitely like very much dialed in to that rhetoric. And likely the women that he chooses to engage with have also drank that Kool-Aid, because she wasn't like this. People have pointed back to her old content when she was very much like, you know, don't do wifely duties for a man that's not your husband. Like, she was very strong in her position. And now this. So you all sound off if you heard about this. We would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts around this whole submission conversation? But also, I think we want to hear about having children with people who feel this way and who have multiple baby mamas and kids. Like, how are people navigating all of that in a way that feels healthy and whole for the kids?
And for the moms.
And I'm not saying it has to be toxic. I just want to know what a healthy example looks like and if it's possible. Any last thoughts about the episode, Margo, before we log off?
Well, I'm really motivated to keep the summer going, or the summer of wonder.
Yeah.
The energy of wonder. So stay tuned. We'll check back in with everyone.
See y'all next time. Thanks for listening to Justice. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to learn more about our podcast, be sure to check us out on our website at justicepodcast.com. You can also reach out to us there if you want to be featured on the show, or if you have a business or a product that you think would be a good fit for our audience. Thanks again for listening.